meet Donna Adelson from Coral Springs, Florida. I want to hear all about you, Donna. Let's go.
Well, I'm a domestic coordinator.
A domestic coordinator?
Yes. I'm responsible for the activities, classes, and lessons of my son Robert, who is 16, Charlie, who is 12, Wendy, who is 10, my husband Harvey, who's in the audience, and my dog Sam.
All right. And how old is Sam?
5.
5. Oh, good. Give him our best. Nice to have you here. And this vowels were nothing. Consonants are going to be words. If we get 800, we can. All right. So I'm writing on this. Again, person is a category. Stu, still your turn. Letter, please.
Mustard maker.
Nope.
Mustard maker.
Stu.
H, please.
Yes, there's one H. Donna.
F.
Yes.
Mischief maker.
Yeah, that's...
Nice.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay, how is everyone? Wanted to talk to you today about Donna and what we can expect at her upcoming trial, now set to begin in September. Now, I thought that was speedy. Everyone else says it's slow, but in my experience, it's awfully quick for a trial of this type, a murder trial. And I wanted to talk about Donna's arrogance, the evidence against her, and how it's really going to be a challenge. And the things that the defense think are so exonerating of Donna really are going to go against her. And I'm talking specifically about the undercover wiretap and why that is not an exoneration for Donna, even though she says several times in it, go to the police, get the reward. So before I get into that, we were talking about Wendy Adelson's interview. I found it bizarre. Not everyone did. There were a few comments that all of us who found it strange that she was smiling broadly and talking about adding humor in her book about trafficking, that there was nothing odd about it. It's just in context of the case that we find it odd. I'm not so sure about that, but let's start off with 55-6 M4's comment. I don't know what Dan saw in her. She's so fake, acting, and cheap looking. She doesn't come off as intelligent at all either. That's how evil hides so well. It makes you underestimate it even when you know not to underestimate it. Interesting. Mia Dolph 72 says, there was nothing bizarre about that interview. It was straightforward, and Wendy was extremely well-spoken, as usual. Okay. Maca Tin Hat says, never mind the tragedy and horror victims of human trafficking experience. Wendy Adelson's only interested in being center stage and being in a position of power, influence, prestige, and authority. She can't show sadness and empathy when discussing the serious subject of human trafficking because she has no sadness or empathy towards the victims of human trafficking. She looks awkward because she's unable to simultaneously wear the mask she wears in public and also fake an empathy mask. Interesting. She appears even more awkward because she's experiencing delight in being center stage and getting the narcissistic supply she craves. That's what I was looking at. That's the interview I saw. But it's very interesting. Everyone sees something different. So you just never know how, and I'm sure a lot of us look at it and think it's very strange that she's smiling and talking about making this a humorous book, and other people think, oh, that was just an interview. Very interesting. Wendy talks about Donna in her podcast. Now, I have a new episode out on Patreon where I talk all about Wendy's podcast that she made, talking about how bad it is for her to go through such a tragedy as the murder of her ex-husband, or her late ex-spouse, as she calls Dan Markel multiple times in this podcast. But she also talks about Donna. So I
find when I tell people that my children's father died, they feel sad. But when they ask the follow-up questions and find out we weren't married, they seem to feel better.
So this is her talking. It comes right after this. I thought I queued it up maybe a little bit better, but it comes seconds after this.
What is the story you tell about your relationship with your mom?
My mom and I have lived together for almost a year. She is selfless, generous, loving, and beautiful. She thinks she is fat. She once got turned down for Weight Watchers because she didn't have enough excess weight to be admitted to the program. She thinks she is stupid. My mom, who won the New York Spelling Bee for middle schoolers when she was only in the 6th grade. I'm so many of the things I am because of who my mom is and who she wants me to be. I was valedictorian of my high school. She seemed proudest that I graduated high school still a virgin. I try to draw boundaries with my mom because lately there aren't any. She is caring for my children right now so that I can be here in class, more like a co-parent than a grandmother. But I accept it because as a former kindergarten teacher, she is so adept in that role. She taught my boys how to recite the 44 presidents, just like she taught me when I was 4. I see myself in them, reciting, receiving praise. She has completely changed her life because mine fell apart. I write letters to her in my head every day, ones of immense gratitude for facilitating my return from the bottom. But when we speak, in the few fleeting moments when the kids or my dad don't need something, it comes out like, is the dishwasher clean? And if not, should I run it?
Okay, so what do we learn about Donna from Wendy's description of Donna? I find this so interesting. So one thing she says about Donna is that she thinks negatively of herself. She thinks she's stupid, but she won a spelling bee. She thinks she's fat, but she was rejected from Weight Watchers. But so we know that she's a good speller. She's of perfect weight, and she's a excellent grandmother and very good with small children. And Wendy is very grateful that she's taking care of her kids. So it's all in relationship to what she does for Wendy. She says there's no boundary. She's very grateful to her mother, but she can't express it. All they talk about is instead they're talking about the laundry and the dishwasher, but they can't express it. So she's saying that there's no real exchange of any kind of intimacy in her family, which isn't surprising. But on the other hand, I find it very interesting that there's really still, What's absent there is any description of Donna, except that they have no boundaries. And I think everybody would agree with that. But isn't it interesting when she's on the stand and asked about boundaries, she says, oh, she's not meddling, she's just overprotective. So it depends. If she's saying it, she'll say there are no boundaries. They lack boundaries in that family. But if Georgia Kappelman is asking it, then she's going to deny it, which is her style. But I wanted to look at Donna and this is what they're going to hold up as the cornerstone, I think, of her defense. And we saw how well it worked with Charlie, LOL, not at all. And even, I believe this is Court TV. Let me double check. Yeah, Court TV called it damning phone call between Donna and undercover cop. So that's not that's not a ringing endorsement. So, but if I were a defense attorney, I would do it just this. I would hold this up and say, look, it's just in context of all the other evidence, it makes sense that she was involved through this call, because we know that Charlie and everyone was discussing who is this person. They all settled on the fact that it was a cop. So she's talking to this person as an undercover cop, but she doesn't know for sure. But it's a weak defense. Let's take a listen to it.
This is Mrs. Adelson. Is this Sammy? Okay, my grandchildren had my phone before, so I
Is it Adelson?
I'm Mrs. Adelson.
Yes.
Yeah, my grandchildren had my phone before, so that's, and I just saw that you called.
So again, right, we have what's going to be her defense, which is she's a grandmother. How many grandmothers have we seen on the stand charged with murder, or even be a murder defendant? They don't have to take the stand. I'm just thinking of Donna taking the stand. That's what's on my mind now. Not many. So she wants the undercover to know she's a grandmother. My grandkids have the phone. See, I'm just baking cookies, baking banana. I'm just baking banana bread here. I'm just playing with my grandchildren. Definitely not planning a murder. Nothing to do with murder. Just picking up my grandkids when I got your flyer. Don't know nothing about this. Go talk to someone else. Go talk to the police. That's what she says. Let's take a listen.
Oh, okay. You left the message on my voicemail.
Right, I did.
Yeah.
This is my problem. You approached me on Alton Road. You handed me an article from the newspaper about my ex-son-in-law. You told me I need to call you and help your friend who was in prison. Now, at the time you did that, I didn't understand what you were talking about. I didn't call you back. Then you mailed me a threatening letter. Then you send me a text message to my phone that says I'm not taking you seriously. So I am taking you seriously. And I really want you to listen to me. I have to tell you, this is important. I have been so stressed out. I have spoken to 10 or 12 people who are close friends of mine, telling them about this and basically picking their brains and asking them what I should do, because I don't know your friend who is in jail. You mentioned a name. I don't even know his name. I never spoke to him. I don't know what he looks like. I've never met him. I'm sorry your friend's in jail, but I don't know what that has to do with me.
You know exactly what it has to do with. You know exactly what. Listen to me carefully. Listen to me. Listen to me. You.
Doesn't this sound more like an interrogation? But they're going to say, oh, Donna was just very confused. She'd heard about her son's extortion. If they're going to build on that extortion, I don't know. Maybe they're going to have another surprise defense. But I guarantee you that her age, the fact that she's a grandmother, that it's unusual for women of this age to be involved in a murder, me murder, no murder here. That's the essence of this undercover phone call. But it sounds, what I'm picturing in my head is Donna in Wendy Adelson's place in the police station answering these questions. This would be the way it goes. I don't know anything about this. Yes, you do. No, I don't. That was the whole plan from the Adelson clan. Everybody be quiet, close your mouth, and no one will get caught. That's what they all told each other. Lawyer up. We'll get you the best lawyers. I believe that the Adelson family provided Katie. That's my belief. Hasn't been proven. Certainly the judge saw some kind of evidence that was satisfying to him that Katie's lawyer, Sigfredo's lawyer, was being paid by somehow by someone else. And we know that they didn't do a deep investigation of Watergate-like investigation. They didn't follow the money back. So I just think that was their rallying cry. We'll all stay silent. But as we know, Charlie can't keep his mouth shut.
You just got to listen to me.
You need to ask your friend who this person looks like, what their name is, something, because I know there's a big reward out there, and if you need money for your friends, that's the way to get it. I mean, I'm asking you nicely. I don't know who he is. I am out of the loop. It is not me. If I can help, I would help. I mean, that's what.
Just like I told you. Listen to me. Just like I told you that day. We know that your family had a problem up north. We know that problem was taken care of about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and we know that Katie has been taken care of. And has been taken care of. Now my brother in jail, we were in Broward together. He told me the whole thing.
See right there, she doesn't say Katie who. How is Katie involved? What? What are you talking about? I know my son has a girlfriend named Katie. What do you know? Her lack of curiosity and the silences are what's going to doom her. But I also want to address her arrogance and how that's also going to sink her a little bit. We'll get into that a little later.
And he hasn't been taken care of. You know. Now, all that's being asked for is 5K. That's all we're asking for is for 5K. And he told me everything, and I know everything. I know who's involved. I know everything, and I'll get the 100K for myself.
You know,
all I ask is to send the 5K. Everybody knows what's going on.
I don't, you're saying everyone knows. I know I lost my ex-son-in-law. I did not have anything to do with it. That's why I said, ask him what. That's not.
Here's a problem, because all he said was up north and Katie. Now she knows from the flyer that it was her son-in-law, but she should be absolutely hammering him on this. If you know something about this, tell me what happened. She should have some curiosity, but she has no curiosity. None. If everyone knows it, what happened? I've been dying to know what happened to my son-in-law. That is what happened to Robert. The whole family, except him, had no interest in finding out what happened to Dan Markel, except Robert, the one person who hasn't been indicted in this, or hasn't even been identified as an unindicted co-conspirator. Let's put it that way. We know he's not involved. I know certain podcasters are putting that out there, or YouTube personalities. But no.
My brother Tasso told me everything when we were in jail. He told me everything and who was involved. I know everything.
Well, I don't. That's the problem. I'm telling you, it's not me. It's not me. I have had a year of aggravation, a year and a half of aggravation over this. My daughter, my grandchildren. It is not me. And when I ask my friends, what do they think? They say,
why is she a year of aggravation? My daughter, my grandchildren? Does she mean they all had to relocate? Or is that her daughter's under suspicion? Hard to know what she's saying here, but hardly the words of someone who doesn't know what's going on. And she should be confused by this. And she should have gone to the cops, but she didn't. And I think jurors are going to be very interested. Why not? I think that's going to be a subject talked about in the jury deliberation room.
well, this person needs to get a description of you because of what you look like, or it's not me. I don't know who caused this. It wasn't me.
It's Miss Lisa. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Glenda K. Thank you. Interesting that Wendy Adelson's first words regarding her MIL when police asked about her was, with her mother-in-law, when police asked her, was she's a large woman, then describes Donna as not large enough to qualify for Weight Watchers. Such a narcissistic lens. Yeah, I picked up on that too, Glenda, where she really disparages Ruth Markel. She's a large woman. You just can hear the disgust in her voice. And then she brings up her divorce. Well, they got divorced in their 70s, and just sort of bemused by it. Very telling. She has a lot of anger towards the Markels. There's no love lost between the Markels. I mean, the Adelsons and the Markels. Especially from the Adelson side, certainly. And I would think it would be any love lost on the Markel side is certainly warranted.
I mean, I don't know.
Just like that day when I talked to you, this is not going away. This is not going to go away because Tato told me everything. He wasn't being taken care of. He needed the 5K. Spent 5K. That's all we were asking for. If don't do that.
I don't know who Tato is. You don't understand.
We know you don't know who Tato is, but you know who Katie is, and you know the contacts Katie has. Okay, you know who Katie is, and you know that Katie has somebody that knows Tato, and they took care of a problem for you people. That's just the bottom line. Katie is, do you know that they took care of Katie and her people? Nobody's taking care of Tato. I know you don't know who Tato is.
No,
But we know who all of you are. And this ain't going away.
you know what?
So I can give you that, you want to send the 5K?
Here's what you need to do. You need to go and...
Don't tell me what to do. I know what to do and I'm doing it.
You're looking for money. Get $100,000 or whatever the what do you call it? Whatever the reward is. It isn't me. You have got the wrong person. That's why I said ask your friends.
You're Donna Adelson.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Well, I know. We know who's involved in all this.
Boy, that silence is telling, huh?
Yes, this is not making any sense. I mean, if you want the money, you should get it from the police. They can give you a whole lot more than you're asking me for money for someone. I can't do this. I have had too much stress and too much aggravation from this, and I don't know what you are talking about. I just don't know.
So it's just not very convincing that she doesn't know. She seems to understand completely what's going on, whereas an innocent person wouldn't. So this is going to be the cornerstone, I think, with her age and all her grandmothering is going to be really center stage, but not enough. Just like Charlie Adelson's being a busy doctor took center stage, Donna's grandmotherhood, age, senior citizenship will take center stage here. And for good reason. Like I said, we don't see a lot of grandmothers on trial for murder. First of all, not a lot of women commit this crime, and not a lot of women in her age group. It is unusual to have an entire family, in my opinion, don't sue me, Wendy, involved in a murder like this, murder by hire. Doesn't make it any better. If anything, it's just more revolting that to see the rich use the poor for their own ends.
I don't know.
Good. I think you should talk to Katie. Talk to people that are involved in this. You'll know. You know what's going on.
That's why I'm...
You tell me.
See, it's the pauses are too long. The pauses are too long. She's thinking of what to say. It's almost like she's weighing out whether she should pay this $5,000 or to get the aggravation over with or not, right? Janet Moorcraft, why does she stay on the phone if she's innocent? Great. Exactly. Great point, Janet. Why isn't she running to the police? And they did that very effectively in Charlie's trial. Showed that he has no problem calling the police when he's in trouble. Don't know what Donna's history is with that.
You know that? But I know you know. Because I heard when I was locked up in Broward with my brother Tato, he told me everything. Everything. He told me everything.
Look,
I just wanted to take care of with her fucking Pourteau.
I just think instead of asking me, you should get the money from the police. There's a lot of money out there, and I know if you think you know who this is, then go ahead and do it, because I know it isn't me. I know it isn't me, and I can't take this kind of level of stress. I just can't. I know I didn't do anything.
She didn't do nothing, guys. Donna didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. It's terrible. I didn't do nothing. It's the Donna. Didn't do Donna.
You talk to people, you talk to the right people, you talk to people, you make this 5K come to me. That's all I need. Just do it and get it to me. Do it and get it to me.
I'll call you back.
Okay.
So there it is. There's their exonerating piece of tape. That's the best it gets. I'll call you back. I'll call you back. Doesn't Charlie's end like that too? I'll call you back. So this reminded me of, do you guys have questions? Okay. So this reminded me of talking to John Lewin. Now he has an unusual strategy when he cross-examines people, and he describes it here. And what he had many very arrogant witnesses in the Robert Durst trial. And we're talking about one, Doug Oliver here, who was truly awful. And you can hear some of his call, but he talks about a strategy of dealing with arrogant people so that by the time the jury, so basically impeaching them in their character with their arrogance. So by the time they come to relevant testimony, it's totally useless. So this is one of the most fun episodes I ever did. And here's where he talks about Doug Oliver.
Doug Oliver.
For my audience, who was Doug Oliver? I mean, he looks like the devil, really.
Well, Doug Oliver is a very wealthy guy.
How did he get so wealthy?
He got wealthy because he married the daughter of Abe Hirschberg,
who
was at one time a billionaire in New York City.
Sure.
And he married his daughter and ended up becoming kind of a real estate developer as well, never to the level of the Durst organization. And he and Bob became close friends. Now, I knew the relevance of Doug Oliver was that Doug Oliver had not been interviewed during the original investigation, but during the subsequent investigation, Doug Oliver was interviewed. Doug told Joe Becerra from the New York State Police that he believed that Kathy had been abducted into white slavery. Now, obviously, he doesn't believe that. He was very hostile during that, and he's very hostile during any interview. He was an incredibly arrogant individual, probably in my career, the most obnoxious witness I've ever dealt with, the worst. And he came off that way. There was discussion that they were going to call him as a character witness, which I would have loved. I wanted to get him on the stand as early as possible in my case. So I called him as my own witness. Now, one of the things that I like to do, and there was a lot of criticism by these commentators who don't know anything. I am definitely an expert in the California Evidence Code. So I know it backwards and forwards. That's been something my entire career that I have made sure of. Generally speaking, when I go into a courtroom, I know the evidence code better than anyone else in that courtroom. With one exception I can think of, that's going to be the judge as well. So I know the evidence code very well. In California, traditionally, there are certain things that you do as a lawyer. So one of those things is that the standard way.
So for those asking, Abe Hirschberg was a real estate tycoon in New York City. So he married the real estate heir's daughter, Doug Oliver did. Just FYI. So here's the important part where he's talking about how he impeaches arrogant witnesses. Take a listen.
That you handle a lying witness is you ask the witness about their testimony, whatever it might be. Then you impeach their testimony with whatever you have. Then you end up impeaching them kind of in general. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that's not my approach. What I like to do is I have discovered in my career that if I gut a witness on issues of credibility before I even get to what they're testifying to in the case, then they're done. By the time they give any statements about the actual evidence in the case, the jury is so disgusted with them, they have zero credibility. Traditionally, that's what I do with experts. So with Doug Oliver, what I started with was his absolute hostility towards being contacted. And this is a man who we called him up, and I know I'm taping. He doesn't know I'm taping, and I know in advance I'm going to be playing this in front of a jury like. So, I'm going to give this guy enough rope and let him hang himself. So I couldn't have been nicer. I couldn't have been more patient with him. And he was rude from the start, asking us, what are you calling me for? Asking us questions.
He demanded a private plane. He'd be flown on private plane.
No, that's not correct.
No?
He has his own private plane and said we had to pay for his gas. That was
thank you
coming over.
Thank you for the correction.
So yeah. So I knew, and if you listen to the testimony, I started off with his beginning conversations. The first conversation he had was with my partner, was with Habib. Mm-hmm. And he was rude to Habib. Habib's the nice guy. Habib's the good cop. I'm the bad cop. So here's what I mean. I like to be nice. If I can, that's more my personality, the way you heard me with Nick. But if it doesn't work, I'm quite willing to switch and become the aggressive bad guy. Habib is always the nice guy. So Habib ended up contacting him first, and he was rude on the phone. Habib is trying to ask a question, and all Doug Oliver will do is ask Habib questions. Well, who are you talking to? What's your investigation? Habib's like, I can't. It wouldn't be proper. Well, then I'm not going to talk to you. Well, why? Is it a one-way street? Why am I going to give you information? Totally rude. So when I end up calling him back, he originally doesn't want to talk. He gives us a date to call him. He doesn't call. So I call him. He doesn't return it. When I eventually get a hold of him and I ask him, well, where were you? I was on a plane. Well, you picked the date. Why didn't you call? Hey, I was on a plane. What do you want me to do? It's expensive to go for a plane, okay? I don't like the way this conversation is. Rude as can be. Now, I know that the jury is going to be hearing that. I also know that he comes off as the most privileged, I'm not going to say the word, but it might involve a donkey.
Okay.
And I know that his weakness is Bob Durst's weakness. They come off as privileged individuals who are above the law.
Did you make yourself available on February 16th, the date that you requested?
I don't recall.
Isn't it true, Mr. Oliver, that you did not make yourself available, and then you were called the next day on February 17th, 2016? Do you recall that?
That's my recollection. I don't recall any of these conversations.
So as far as you know, you've never spoken to me before?
No, I've spoken to you.
But you don't recall the content of any of the conversations, is that correct?
No, I don't recall the content.
So on the 17th, Mr. Oliver, isn't it true that you were called, and instead of explaining why you had not been available at the time you agreed, you merely stated that you had missed the interview because you were on a plane again? Do you recall that?
No, I don't recall that.
Clip D006, 217-16, page 2, line 10 to page 6, line 9. Mr. Oliver, this is John Lewin, LA County District Attorney's Office.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Well, I'm not real good because we had an appointment yesterday at 1.
Yeah, I was in an airplane.
Okay, you realize we made that appointment at that was the date you chose. You didn't call us.
Wait. I was in an airplane. What am I supposed to do? Okay.
Well, listen.
Don't give me a hard time about it. I'm sorry, okay?
Well, all right, then listen, let's, we'll.
What exactly? Look, I've been nice talking to you. I have to talk to you. So if you're being unhappy with me in the beginning, let's not talk.
Well, Mr. Oliver,
I'm on an airplane. What do you want me to do about that? Well, the story, okay? It was very bad weather down here, and we were delayed.
Well, listen, so then we'll here's the situation. When you talk to us,
What is the situation? You're asking for help from me, right?
can I, Mr. Oliver, can you listen to me for a second? You're not letting me answer. You're not letting me answer it.
No, you have to listen to me, okay? You're asking me for help. Don't put me down because I couldn't reach you on the phone, okay? And if you don't want to deal with me that way, then don't deal with me. You don't have to talk to me.
Well, Mr. Oliver, here's the situation. There's a couple of ways. That's not. If I can tell you, I'll let you know. Whether you talk to us is up to you outside of the courtroom. We believe you've got information. If you don't want to speak to us, we'll just subpoena you and bring you to court. I would prefer it.
You have your right to do anything you want. Right now, you're getting me upset because you're not, it's very nice. You are very good at it. You are the person I spoke before. You have a much better manner than you do. But you sit there and immediately attack me because I couldn't pick up the phone yesterday. I do not like that, okay? So why don't you go think about it and then call me back when you decide you want to talk to me like a gentleman.
Well, Mr. Oliver, I'm speaking. Listen. Let's just.
Let's get the facts straight. You're asking for my help, correct?
I'm not asking for your help. I'm asking you to find out information that you have. But listen.
You're asking for your help because why would I do this if you're not asking for something?
Well, I would hope you would do it because two people.
Because why?
Because two people have been murdered. Well, so that's why we're trying to find out what information you might have. Listen.
I thought in this country that you were innocent and proven guilty. You're sitting there saying you're assuming that he murdered. I don't know.
I didn't mention Bob Durstall. I said you said two people have been murdered. But listen, my apologies. Listen, my apologies if I was annoyed that you didn't call us back. And listen, I took you not calling me yesterday as you know what, you just weren't going to speak to us and didn't want to give us a call to let us know. If that's incorrect, then my apologies. And when I said let's take it,
First of all, you leave messages, okay?
I did. I left messages on 3 different phones.
Your stuff comes right now. Never playing.
Okay. Well, listen.
I really challenge stories from the airplane that's expensive to use these phones, okay? They're very expensive.
Would you agree that during that call, Mr. Oliver, that you made clear that you would not speak over the phone, that you would not allow us to come interview you in New York, and that the only way you would come to California was on your private airplane if we paid for your gas? Is that what you told us?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I play that not just because Doug Oliver is probably the one of the most hateable witnesses in the history of true crime trials, but because let's think about Donna's trial, right? So let's think about who goes first. The prosecution. So by the time, if Donna chooses to take the stand, they will have been exposed, the jury, to Donna's parenting, Donna's grandparenting, Donna's style of parenting, Donna's style of dealing with the world. She will be so disliked by everyone in the courtroom, not just the jury, by the time she gets up to take the stand. And you will see the scheming in her emails is intense. Pages. If you haven't read those emails, highly recommend you read them. But she's going through every option and trying to influence the judge, telling Wendy that if she converts to Christianity, that she'll have an in with this Southern Christian black lady judge, going through every possible loophole in the filings, coming up with a defense for Wendy, telling her what to say in court. They're not going to like that. And you can see that she lies very easily, in my opinion. So she doesn't have the better story. So to win this case, you would have to have a better story than what the prosecution has to make sense of all the evidence. So is an extortion story that these guys just went off on their own, came back to Charlie, and somehow Donna got wrapped up in it? Is that a better story with all that fits the evidence better than what Georgia Cappleman in the state of Florida has against her? No. But I think we're going to see a lot of the same tactics used in Robert Durst's trial. Can't recommend you guys watch that highly enough. Which is sympathy. So Robert Durst had to read off of a iPad. We're going to have Donna's eyes, Donna's ears, everything's falling apart because of her age. Wouldn't be surprised if she faints, has medical episodes in court. Grows out her hair totally gray. As Donna says so often in her emails to Wendy, it's all an act. So get ready September 30th for a big act, a big show. But her credibility, so my point in playing that is to say her credibility is going to be gone. So Georgia Cappleman does not need to employ John Lewin's style of discrediting the witness just in their character, in their actions before they even get to the really important testimony in the case. So meaning he guts them on issues of credibility. By the time Donna takes the stand, she will have no credibility. It will be done by the state's case. She will be so hated. And it's not a popularity contest. I do not want to see Donna convicted because she's unlikable. I'd like to see Donna convicted because she's, in my view, a murderer. But expect a real show. There's going to be a lot of theatrics in this trial, a lot of acting, and Donna's scheming. So she's complaining her back is hurting in jail on her bunk because she's working on her case on her bunk. She insisted that a chair was provided. Kudos to the Leon County Jail for providing her with that chair so her back doesn't hurt. But expect that her age, her background as a kindergarten teacher, all those things are going to be stressed. So do you guys have any questions before I wrap it up? Anna Maria says 100% Roberta. They've gotten away with it for 10 years. And it's amazing. What are they waiting for with Wendy? I guess they're waiting for her to testify, but what is stopping them? Does anyone know what is stopping them from bringing Wendy in to court from jail? I mean, is there any difference? And it's been pointed out that new phone records have been added to the records in this case, meaning it's going to be evidence in this case to the evidence list. So something was pulled from AT&T. I would think it would be from Donna's phone. Yeah, Shari is saying save the best for last. Someone's asking me a question. Fly Guy in Blue Sky is asking, do you think the banana bread scenario was part of the Adelson's plan for deniability? Sick. Yeah, I think that's a totally made up story by Wendy on the stand. Had anybody heard the banana bread story before Wendy took the stand? Does it come up earlier in the case that I just am not aware of? I thought she just made that up on the spot. That was my view of it. So MM says politics and money is stopping Wendy in getting arrested. You think still, MM? Now that Meggs is no longer in power, the DA who announced that if the Adelsons get indicted, any of the Adelsons get indicted, expect a massive civil suit. He's no longer in the picture, so it's hard to know how much influence they have. Certainly in mainstream media, on the court TVs and the law and crime channels, they're very aware that the audience, their audience does not love Donna and does not love the Adelson family. Yeah. Hey, Mona says it's a bizarre mystery why Wendy and Harvey, for that matter, aren't in jail. Harvey, I can see being one of those cases where it's just, there's not a lot of direct evidence. It looks like he's involved, but can you prove it? I don't know what they have. I can see it ending with, I can see this unfortunately ending with Donna being the last one. I hope not. I hope Wendy is, or Harvey ideally. Janet Moorcraft writes, did the prosecutor have to let the guy on the phone know he was recording him? I'm not I think so in California. I believe so. But I'm not sure. In New York, I know you don't, but I'm not sure what the situation is in California. Someone's asking, will Pat Stanford be a witness again? I would think so, Sharon Joy. I would think he would be a witness. A lot of the same witnesses that we're going to see. It's going to look very much like Charlie's trial. I would think we're going to see Katie again. I think we're going to see Luis Rivera again. And what Katie has to say is going to be interesting. Is she going to tell what she knows? Is it ever going to come out? It's so weak. It's such a, if I were Katie's lawyer, I would try to tell her, encourage her to tell everything she knows. It's the only way she's going to get out of there, doing a life sentence. And it's so ridiculous to know she was offered total immunity, she would have done no time had she told what she knew back then, early on. It's ridiculous. She's doing a life sentence because she got bamboozled by the Adelsons, in my opinion. They told her everything's going to be great. Everybody lawyer up. Everybody stay quiet. Yeah, Luis Rivera is saying the blonde. He really is saying the blonde, although I love that the blog is Wendy. But he really is, for everyone who was saying, I was resistant, but they were right. I was wrong. They were right. Riverdale Pilates is saying Luis Rivera will say he heard about Dan's timeline from the Wendy blog. Yeah, or the Wendy blonde. It's the same thing. You can hear Georgia Kappelman going, oh, crap. And then she goes, oh, yeah, what blog? And they go, leading, not leading. The blog was Wendy. The blonde was Wendy. He thinks she's saying, what blonde did you hear it from? So funny. Lynn, True Crime Project, wants to hear from Robert. How awful would that be, though, to testify against your mother? It's still, even though he's estranged, even though he recognizes who his family is, what a horrible thing to have to testify against your mother. No? Hold on one second, guys. Sorry, I had to cough. Sharon Joy's asking, this is the question. Speaking of traumatic, Sharon Joy asks, can the judge call the Markel boys into her? It's a man judge, but yes, his chamber to question them. I would think so, but I don't know exactly how that works, Sharon. I wouldn't think so. I would think that would be so traumatic. And I don't think they know much, but they do know what they've seen around the house and what the boys think about this case and what they think about their family is anyone's guess. They've been around the Adelsons most of their life, majority of their life. It's hard to know, really scary. It reminds me a lot. If you guys seen the documentary Dear Zachary, how those parents dealt with the basically working out time with their son's killer is something. Those parents are amazing. Amazing. Sharon Shipley, thanks for becoming a member. Welcome aboard. Slice of banana bread for you. So, anything else, guys? I think it's going to be a fascinating trial for sure. One I'm really looking forward to, and we're all going to have to cool our heels. Because I thought it was very interesting that Donna wore a mask at her last hearing. So she must be very aware that the internet is watching and the world is watching, really, and commenting on everything she does. I wonder if she gets the same kind of thrill that Wendy does out of the public attention. In her podcast, she talks about the media firestorm around Dan Markel's murder, and she sounds absolutely elated. Riverdale Pilates, thank you. You're the best, Roberta. Oh, thank you. Oh, that's very nice. Oh, thanks, Patty. Thanks, everybody. All right. So I think oh, wait. Mona has some inside information. I think it was the jail COVID protocol, but her hair looked pretty good. Really? Yeah, I was questioning that too. I thought, was there something? I know that they're not allowed to have visitors. Maybe it is. Maybe you're right. But I would think that you would be brought into some kind of private room, but maybe she's in a cell alone. I don't know. I just couldn't think of why she would have to have that on a Zoom meeting. And of course, Florida is one of the more flexible states regarding that. But I don't know what Leon County Jail looks like. They run a tight ship. Boy, that jail looks like they have more things to do than any other jail that I've seen, or at least the jails that I'm familiar at. With my mother's worked with people in jail for 20 years. So, and she said the boredom is always the most challenging things for people in jail, but doesn't look like it in Leon County. Beekeeping, so many different things to do. Yeah. It's a Zoom booth. Yeah, that's what I thought, that it was some kind of Zoom booth, Bugs Bunny's brother. I thought the same thing. All right. Tim M says, I'd say that Donna watches Roberta in sheep's clothing for the fake New York accents. She dies laughing. I hope so. She has one of the heaviest accents I've ever heard. It is so pronounced. She didn't lose much of it in Florida, just a little of it. But you see in that footage of her on that game show, it's crazy. I'm Donna, a domestic coordinator. I mean, it looks like a Saturday Night Live sketch, doesn't it? That little clip. Is that crazy? All right. I'm going to close out this episode with Another victim impact statement. And this one was written for Charles Adelson's trial. So this is to the Honorable Stephen Everett, who's also going to be the judge in Donna's trial. I met Dan Markel on my first day at Harvard Law School in 1997. We were assigned to the same small group and quickly became friends. Danny was one of my oldest friends, close from the first days in Cambridge to the last several years preceding his death when we both lived in Tallahassee. He was my classmate, my dance partner, my constant, my advisor, my confidant, my dear friend. We shared past, present, and future. A classmate remembered Danny and I becoming fast friends our first week of law school. Quote, "You were like two pieces of the same puzzle, finally reunited," unquote. Until his death, through loves and losses, children, distance, and closeness, that remained true for us. We loved and supported each other. He was a blessing in my life. From many walks around Harvard Square and Tallahassee's Lake Ella, to nights of music and dinners wherever we happened to be in the U.S., intellectual discourse and debate, discussions of Judaism, meeting up for our children to play together, and countless hours sharing our deepest of truths and understanding over meals, on the phone, or at his house. He was my dear, beloved friend. We watched each other grow and evolve over the years, providing each other advice and encouragement. He lived every moment with joy and loved mightily. When Danny was killed, there was a tremendous outpouring of grief, love, and support from friends, family, colleagues, students, and communities, not only in Tallahassee, where he lived, in New York, where he often traveled, or at Harvard, where he attended college and law school, but from across the nation, Canada, Israel, and around the world. Even today, people continue to speak of his life and how he personally touched and changed their lives. His voice, his hugs, his heart are missed beyond description. How could one man have such an impact on so many? He was not an actor, politician, or preacher. How could so many feel his loss so deeply? His colleagues and students deeply respected him. His family and extended family of friends loved him unconditionally for the unique, genuine, witty, brilliantly sarcastic, loving, affectionate, intelligent, sometimes goofy, empathetic, kind, adventurous soul that he was. He was indeed a prolific writer, a brilliant mind, an innovative scholar, professor, mensch, and friend who was devoted to his family and faith community. So mensch is a Yiddish word, which means good guy who does the right thing. His contributions to the legal and academic communities are well documented in more than 30 published articles. In his writings and commentary on Prof Blog, and in the minds and hearts of the countless colleagues and students he inspired and influenced over the years, whether as a leader at Harvard Hillel, a resident tutor at Lowell House during law school days, a traveling fellow and scholar, or a professor of law at Florida State University. Jewish or not, if you were within traveling radius and Shabbat dinner or any dinner was to be had, you were invited to join Danny. Despite very diverse circles of friends across the world, he managed to be there for his friends. He has been referred to as the great connector and internet before there was an internet. He has also been referred to as the Johnny Carson of academics, inviting you to the stage and then encouraging and inspiring you to reach new personal levels. He has been called a collector of people, the kind of friend who you could not speak to in years, and in a moment of contact, you pick up exactly where you left off. He was quick to foster your potential, to challenge you towards your best, to support you through the best and worst of times. Danny was a seeker of truth and justice, an exceedingly insightful man, unafraid to hear and believe the hardest of truths. Unafraid to tell you what he was thinking, unafraid to love and support his friends, unafraid to show emotion or ask for help. He was truly a man of wisdom and discernment. He cared about you and was fully present whenever he was with you. He easily created an emotional intimacy that led to deep personal connections. He had a dozen nicknames in terms of endearment for those he loved. Danny's heart was his boys, his little bears, delicious ones, wonder balls, and magical ones. He was in awe of them. He loved teaching them about his deep faith, tradition, ritual, and the importance of community, family, and friends. He was shamelessly proud and involved father. From before their birth until his death and every single moment in between, Danny glowed with love and pride in his boys. As someone who appreciated fine art, Danny found no art better than that of his sons, and their artwork was frequently displayed throughout his house. As a music lover, Danny found no sound sweeter than that of his boys singing. Whenever he could, often daily, he would go to preschool just to share snack time with them. He was one of the best fathers you could ever meet, and his boys deserved to know him. On a personal level, having experienced the murder of a close childhood friend in 1982 and personal violence as an adult, I was cut to the core by Danny's murder. It tore open old wounds and removed any sense of peace or safety I had struggled to rebuild. He believed in me and supported me in healing from trauma when some others did not. He was a comfort, a shelter in the storm of life, a place of refuge. His needless death left me without a safe haven and tore a hole in my heart. The month before he died, he took me out to dinner for my birthday, and we shared our latest hopes and dreams. His violent loss was jarring. The knowledge that while I was working less than 2 miles away, my beloved friend had been gunned down in the supposed safety of his home garage was heartbreaking. It also meant that the house where I had spent so many hours with my friend, where I had felt loved and understood, now felt tainted and unsafe. Indeed, safety was an illusion if in broad daylight such a monstrous crime could occur. Every new detail of his murder added to painful disbelief and loss of ability to trust those one once thought they knew. To trust those once thought known. Excuse me. Hold on one second. Okay. My children cried when I told them what had happened. Having to explain to my children that Danny was murdered in the house where they had played with his children was unthinkable. Tallahassee itself became associated with a lack of safety and peace for our family, and we moved from that area soon after his loss, never wishing to return. Watching their mother grieve deeply affected my children greatly. Danny's loss continues to deeply affect his family and friends around the world. It impacted the Tallahassee community, the state of Florida, and the nation. The callous disregard for life and cold calculation of his murder, in addition to these long 9 years waiting for everyone involved to be brought to justice, have left my family and friends grieving indefinitely with an open wound. Seekers of justice disheartened, and shocked members of the public yearning for the full truth, so that it's such a self-serving, premeditated, heinous act will never be viewed as inconsequential and repeated. No combination of words, however eloquent, can fully capture Danny's spirit, can fully convey his passion for life, can adequately pay him full tribute. Danny gave a little bit of himself to everyone he touched, and he remains a blessing in their hearts. His memory brings joy, peace, and healing. Danny was a dear friend to so many and to me. I love him always, and I will miss him forever. For all who knew him, his loss leaves a void that cannot be filled. Dan Markell was simply irreplaceable. Sincerely, Tamara Demko. That's what I have for today, guys. Please hit the thumbs up. Oh, wait, before I go, I think I have one more question. Hold on. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And Jane's World has a question. Would you please tell us about your logo avatar? Yes, sure. It's a wolf in sheep's clothing. The original name of this podcast was the Wolves and Sheep podcast. So I was thinking about there's a couple of interviews with convicted killers where they talk about the public being sheep. And I was thinking about the movement, the wrongful conviction movement, being a wolf in sheep's clothing and taking on the characteristics of the killers who that they champion. So that's what I was thinking about. So I wanted some piece of it. And I traded my friend a cat sit. She's a graphic designer, so I cat sit in a trade and a barter. So she made me the logo for some cat sitting time. That's how it came into being, Jane. Is there anything else? Anybody else have any questions before I go? All right, guys, I will be back 6 p.m., not tomorrow, but Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern. And thank you so much for listening. And have a great night, everybody.